listen, it's time for a summertime dream.
Gordon Lightfoot had been writing and recording since the early 60s, a respected fixture of folk rock radio on both sides of the border. Summertime Dream, released June the 1st, is the album that made him a mainstream name in America, and it did so on the back of a single track. The Wreck of the Edmund Fitzgerald is 9.5 minutes of narrative ballad about the ore freighter that sank in Lake Superior in November 1975, with all 29 crew members lost. Lightfoot had read about it in Newsweek and wrote the song in 4 days. It reached number 2 on the Billboard Hot 100. When he later discovered a factual error in the original lyric, he re-recorded it and corrected subsequent pressings. The families of the crew found out. They wrote to thank him.
The dawn came late and the breakfast hit the week when the gales of November came slashing. I got the fever for a got the fever.
Asbury Park, New Jersey. The same corner of the world that produced Bruce Springsteen also produced this band and this sound, a sweat-soaked fusion of soul, rhythm, and blues and rock that felt like it had always existed. Miami Steve Van Zandt produced, arranged, and wrote the title track. Springsteen contributed 2 songs, including The Fever, an original he had written and never released himself.
Got the fever, oh, I got the fever.
He also wrote the liner notes by hand, a full personal essay about late nights at the Upstage Club in Asbury Park printed on the back of the original sleeve. It reads like a letter to a friend. It is one of the most generous things one musician has done for another on a debut record. The handwritten manuscript sold at auction years later for a sum that surprised no one who had read it.
Whatever happened to you and I don't want to go.
Here's something that surprises us every time we check our analytics. More than 90% of the people watching this video right now are not subscribed. 90%. Bruce Springsteen wrote those liner notes for a band the world had never heard of because he believed the music deserved to reach people. That is exactly the kind of conviction this channel runs on. Subscribe, hit the bell, share this with one person who loves music from this era. Now let's keep going.
Leaving home on a Greyhound bus, cast out by the ones he loves, addicted.
Atlantic Crossing had been Stewart's gamble on a new sound. Recorded in Alabama, aimed at America. It worked. A Night on the Town, released June the 18th, consolidated everything. Tonight's the Night went to number 1 in America and was banned by the BBC.
Ain't nobody gonna stop us now.
The first cut is the deepest, a Cat Stevens song. Became so completely his own that most people have forgotten he didn't write it, but neither is what the album is remembered for at 50 years. The Killing of Georgie, a 2-part narrative about a gay friend murdered in a New York robbery, is plain-spoken and humane in a way that very little rock music of the era attempted. He wrote it because it was true. That is usually enough.
A virgin child, just let your inhibitions run wild.
The girl next door, I'm the fox you've been waiting for.
A note up front. Wikipedia gives May the 17th as the release date. Ultimate Classic Rock, Volume 13, and Grokopedia all give June the 1st. The date is genuinely contested. We are including this on the June the 1st sourcing. 5 teenagers from Los Angeles, none older than 19, signed after a single rehearsal with no demo tape. Cherry Bomb was written in the room during Sherry Curry's audition because the band didn't know the Susie Quattro song she had prepared.
Hello, Daddy. Hello, Mom. Cherry Bomb.
Joan Jett wrote, "You Drive Me Wild." Lita Ford's guitar work is more accomplished than the album's detractors admitted at the time. The bass on the entire record was played by Nigel Harrison, later of Blondie, because manager Kim Fowley decided Jackie Fox wasn't ready without telling her. She found out years later. This appeared in our May video. The US release was May the 1st. The UK followed on June the 25th, which earns it a place here. Alan Parsons had engineered Abbey Road and Dark Side of the Moon. He and Eric Wolfson then conceived an entire album from the writings of Edgar Allan Poe, The Raven, The Telltale Heart, The Fall of the House of Usher, rendered into cinematic progressive rock with a full orchestra and a rotating cast of vocalists. The vocoder on The Raven was borrowed from an EMI research laboratory and had never appeared on a rock record before. The orchestral sessions at Kingsway Hall in London were repeatedly interrupted by District Line trains running beneath the building. Parsons kept the rumbles in the mix. He felt they suited the material. He was right.
Let's quote the Raven. Nevermore. Quote the Raven.
By 1976, Jefferson Starship were not a cult act. They were one of America's biggest arena rock bands, operating at maximum commercial velocity. Spitfire shipped gold on the day of release, the first Jefferson album under any name to do so, and spent 6 consecutive weeks at number 3 on the Billboard chart. Marty Ballin's ballad With Your Love became a top 15 hit.
Whatever it is now, whatever it's called.
The album is professional, FM radio aimed, and unapologetic about both. The woman on the cover is not Grace Slick, which is the assumption everyone makes. She is Cassandra Gaviola, a San Francisco model who would later play a sorceress opposite Arnold Schwarzenegger in Conan the Barbarian in 1982. If you already knew that, you know this record well.
What's too late? It feels no good, whatever it is. Knew from the start it had to be you.
You know better, but I know you.
Phil Lesh called it abysmal. The band called it Steal Your Money. The wall of sound system had been set up behind the band at the 1974 Winterland shows, requiring out-of-phase microphones that left the recording murky and phase-shifted in ways that no amount of mixing could fully correct. Lesh and Owsley Stanley released it anyway. The band needed income while the Grateful Dead film was still in post-production.
Well, she's coming down the stairs, coming back her yellow hair.
It went gold, 500,000 copies, because even a flawed document of the Grateful Dead at the Winterland in 1974 is worth having. The lightning bolt skull on the cover, one of rock's most reproduced images, started life as a sticker for equipment cases, designed so road crews could identify Grateful Dead gear on a loading dock. Nobody planned what it became.
Deep locomotive rolling down the track.
Diamond just me on the plane.
Rick Derringer was 17 when Hang On Sloopy went to number 1 for the McCoys in 1965. By 1976, he had produced records for Johnny Winter and Alice Cooper, played sessions for Steely Dan, and written rock and roll Hoochie Coo. Then he assembled a proper band, Danny Johnson on guitar, Kenny Aronson on bass, Vinny Appice on drums, and made 8 tracks of straight hard rock at the Hit Factory in New York.
I can ride, hoochie coo. Northern Mama, not fuse.
Produced by himself with no commercial interference. Let Me In opens it and Beyond the Universe closes it. 6 minutes of dual guitar work that was years ahead of where mainstream rock would eventually land. The band achieved cult status at best. Vinny Appice went on to Black Sabbath and Dio. The first Derringer album remains the best thing any of them made under that name.
When I was a young man, I found an old dream.
This album came close to being the CSNY reunion record of 1976. Crosby and Nash had come to Miami while Stills and Young were already recording, and for a short window all 4 were in the room together. Then, A deadline pulled Crosby and Nash back to Los Angeles. Stills and Young responded by erasing everything the other two had contributed from the master tapes.
Parents kept her locked up in the life. She was crying at night.
Crosby and Nash swore they would never work with either of them again. They made 4 more records together inside a decade. What Crosby and Nash completed on their own is a warm, carefully crafted record, backed by some of the best session musicians of the era. The harmonies are exceptional throughout. Note on the date. AllMusic says June 1976. One detailed discography gives July the 10th. We are including it on the AllMusic date.
It's on my mind nearly all the time. And now it's midnight on the bay, lights are shining.
I'm being transparent. Long May You Run was released on September the 10th, not June. The album was recorded entirely between February and June at Criteria Studios in Miami. The tour launched on June the 23rd, and the title track was released as a summer single. It belongs to this month in spirit. Stills and Young had not made a record together since Buffalo Springfield. They wrote separately, each bringing their own songs. Long May You Run is Young's elegy for his first car, a 1948 Buick Hearse that broke down in Ontario in 1962. And it is one of the quietest, most unexpectedly moving things he recorded in the 70s. Young left the tour after 19 dates, sending Stills a telegram. Dear Steven, funny how some things that start spontaneously end that way. Eat a peach, Neil. 10 albums, 1 month, 50 years ago. A telegram from Neil Young. A missing bassist nobody told. A District Line train left in the mix. A factual error corrected out of respect for the dead. June 1976 had no shortage of stories. It rarely does.
Hello, Daddy. Hello, Mom. It's Jerry Bob. When I break down, when I break down,
Whatever it is, whatever it is now, whatever it's called.
Well, she's coming down the stairs, coming back her. I can ride, hoochie coo. Northern mama, not views.
Parents kept her locked up in the life. She was crying at night.